Hello, everybody. We are going to talk about the rapid testing methodology that we built at Intuit. And you will see it's really fascinating. And it's a nice story we are going to tell you. So the idea is to fuel your growth through customer-driven innovation. So we are going to do this presentation with Scott.
I'll just introduce myself. So my name is Scott Stonehawker. I've been with Intuit for about 2.5 years. And before that, I worked at a small startup that looked a bit like this in California. And I'm originally from Canada. And I'm really excited to be here tonight because I love startups. I work at a big company now, but at a small startup in Paris because we're really small. Emma will explain that. But really happy to be here with you tonight. I work on the QuickBooks product, adapting the US version, the cloud version, so that it works in France with Le Plan Comptable, La TVA, all of the complexity that you know in France, starting a company. So that's my role on the leading product here.
So my name is Emmanuel Sedan. I'm in the marketing team in Intuit. I used to be in HP, working also in business development. I learned to code at Le Wagon. I don't know if you've heard about it. And now I'm working in the Intuit's marketing team. So just to give you quickly a little bit of context, Intuit, who are we? Maybe just some numbers. We're like we said, like a software editor, helping people with their financing. And we are what we can call a big company, 8,000 employees, 45 million users. So this is huge. And in the US, like 90% of SMBs, companies, small companies, are using our products. So this is huge. But with Scott, this is not what we want to talk to you about. We want to talk to you about the French story, because we arrived like 2 years ago in France, and at the beginning we were like 2 people, then 3, then 4. Now we are just like 30 people, so it's not that big. We are kind of a startup here in Paris because we have to build a new product that French people will like, and gods know how American and French people are different and their expectations are different. And just quickly, let me tell you how I got introduced to this rapid testing methodology. So I arrived after 2 months at Intuit, and we had our innovation guru, Ben Blank, who came from Mountain View, and told us, okay, we are going to take a full week talking about the rapid testing. And maybe Scott, you can give me what we did. So we did that, okay? We literally draw shitty prototype with paper, sticky notes. It was okay, this is my new job. I don't feel very comfortable with that. But now, when I look at those, I just find them on Jesse's desk earlier. And when I look at them, I'm just okay, so now we have that. We have the bank connection. So this is actually how a $1 million company build their product. Yeah. Paper and sticky notes.
So with that, I just want to kind of understand the audience a little bit here for a second. So how many of you have started your own company? Okay. How many of you are thinking of starting your own company? Okay, and the last one, how many of you work for a very, very small company? You guys are very kind to help out the other. This is cool. So this audience here, where you know what it's like as a small company. I know what it's like. You don't have money. You don't have time. And a lot of these theories don't really seem to apply to what you're trying to do. So what we wanted to do for the next 30 minutes is go through an exercise together to describe what we call design for delight, or D for D. So this is the way we have kind of zoomed in on something you can do on a regular basis to bring design for delight into your company and fast track the growth from 0 to, in the case of QuickBooks Online, we're at 2 million right now. Our desktop product has a lot more. And in France, we're a lot less than that. So we're in the same boat where we're trying to, getting to the first 100 is really difficult. Getting to the first 1,000 is really difficult, customers. And getting to the first 100,000 is difficult. So we want to share some principles that help with this. So the 3 pieces are this. The first one is deep customer empathy. That feeling of, ooh, that's painful when somebody tries to log into their bank, when your grandmother tries to log into their bank, and they're like, what's my password? And you're like, and she gets blocked, and she sits there, and she calls support. That's painful to see a customer do that. It's watching customers, see where they get stuck, see where it's easy, see where it's delightful. First, gaining deep customer empathy. The second is to go broad to go narrow. So when you start thinking of solutions for the problems, don't just try and find the best idea. Talk about as many ideas as possible, and then zero into the best ones. And the third is to then take that awesome idea, the best one, and test it. Because it's not necessarily the best idea. You need to validate it and test it with customers. So we're going to talk about this process of deep customer empathy down to going broad to go narrow with the ideas. And then lastly, how, just some tricks to test it cheaply and quickly, because you don't have time to do that. So Scott Cook was the founder of Intuit, and when his very first product that he built, he went to the store and stood outside of the store and waited for people to buy his product. And as soon as they bought his product and they came out, he would just watch. And as soon as he saw somebody that had his product, he would approach them and say, "Can I follow you home?" Yeah, in France, that does not work. In America, it's like, sure, come to my house. So he would follow customers home so that he could watch their first time use, watch them install the product, watch them get set up, and see where it was easy and where it was hard. And that was our founder. That's what he started doing. And to this day, we still do what we call follow me homes, where we go to customers. You can do this too with us if you'd like. Where we follow you to your office and we watch you use the product. Just in order to have that deep customer empathy. We're going to go into some more details in a second, but that is the overview of D for D and how QuickBooks works. And Emma's going to give a little bit more about this culture into it.
So as Scott said, it really became like our culture. It was first our founder, Scott Cook, that was outside of the shop and follow people to their houses. And now we have the whole principle, like, follow me home. And you talk to an Intuit employee, he knows, like, follow me home, of course. And the important thing is when I say, like, all the employees are at Intuit know about it, I'm talking of the 8,000 employee, because actually today in Paris, like, everybody in the office is involved in this rapid testing methodology. Everybody, like, we have, like, every week or something, rapid testing sessions at the office, and customers are coming, and we are testing with those crappy papers, new features. So this is how we are doing it, and like everybody in the office. If you are working in care, in sales, whatever, you have ideas for features, and then you make a prototype like that, and tomorrow you can go to Scott and say, "Yeah, Scott, I had 20 customers, they loved it." So this is how we build 8,000 company employee innovator. So everybody at Intuit is working on it. Okay. So let's start with the first part, go concrete, and with the deep customer empathy.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll break out those 3 parts: the deep customer empathy, the go broad to go narrow, and then the rapid testing. We're going to just do a deep dive on each of those things to give you a little more detail. At the end of the session tonight, We'll give you a link that will be, so we'll send you this PowerPoint. We'll also give you a link to a Google form where if you want to come and do testing with us, if you want to come be the testers and see how we do it, you can sign up and come do that. We pay you 150 euros in a gift card for the 2-hour sessions. So we'll give that invitation to you after. We'll send it all out after this, and you can come experience it for yourself. And we'll give you these resources so you can read through on your own about Design for Delight. So I told you the story about Scott Cook following customers home. Well, a couple months ago, I was in California for work, and I bumped into Scott Cook. And I'm Scott too, so I figured, like, hey, maybe he'll be friendly to me. We can talk. Like, here's the legend, Scott Cook. And I just asked him a question. We talked for a few minutes, and he found out that I was working on the France product. And so all of a sudden, he got really excited. And he's like, well, tell me about the biggest pain points that you have in France. And it was really cool because we ended up taking 5-10 minutes, and then we ran into each other in the hall, and he said, hey, I want to talk about that a little bit more, these problems. Okay, I'm free. You know, I can take all the time you want. And we ended up spending 45 minutes talking about our customer challenges. And he said something that was really interesting to me. If you go to the next slide, he said it boils down to this: find the biggest pain and solve it. And I'll confess what I had done when I talked to him, when he said, you know, what are your challenges? I'm like, there's la TVA, there's le plan comptable, there's the... And I start listing off all these challenges, and it was a long list. And he just listened, and he was very friendly. And he said, you know what we did? When we came onto the market, you open up a magazine of all your competitors, and they would list them all in a row and all their features. And he said, the best product had the most features. We had 2. And so then you had the first product with 2 features. And he said, how did we win? He said, we identified the biggest pain, and we fixed that, and we solved it really, really well. And then he said, within a year, we were the #1 product on the market. And I thought that was cool to see that even back then, with a lot of competition, he went through this process of finding the biggest pain and solving it. So we're going to demonstrate this. I'm going to interview Emma and show you how this is done. And you can do this a whole bunch of different ways. Basically, you could just ask somebody, tell me the last time you... And this is actually at lunch today. I tested this out. I am a rapid prototyper, so I prototyped myself. And so think about this. Find the biggest pain. As we talk, I want you to watch for, what does she say? What does she do? What does she imply that we can learn from to discover pain? Where is this experience difficult? So the example we'll give here is, tell me the last time you went out with friends or colleagues for lunch and you paid. You know that moment when you have like 7 people and everybody pulls out their ticket resto? Like, oh, do they give money back on the... So here we go. So Emma, and as we do this, watch for, what does she say? What is she thinking? What does she imply? Does she contradict herself? To try and understand where the pain is. So Emmanuel,
okay, so
tell me about a time where you went out with colleagues and it came time to pay the bill after a meal.
Okay, so let's... with colleague, it's not that fun. Sorry, Scott. No, just kidding. Let's pick like Saturday night, because I remember we were like 5 friends going to a restaurant, very nice. We had dinner, and then 3 other friends joined, and they just had drinks. And so the evening was nice. And at the end of the evening, like we just received the bill, and I had like dinner plus cocktails, and my friend just had cocktails. And so we were like, okay, so I took the dinner, so we should split. No, wait, I have my credit card.
So how did you pay with your credit card, or did you pay with?
I think I paid cash and my friend credit card. No, wait, it wasn't enough with the credit card. So they pay for me because we can pay only credit card with like
Okay, stop.
20 euros
All
or
right,
something.
So you get it. We're going to pause there for a second. We're going to come back. Which, in just this example, where did you see the most pain? Yeah, it's like, so the payment decision was tricky. Yeah, because you have those 5 people that come late and all they do is drink, and you're not drinking, and you're like, that's expensive. Okay. And we didn't mention, if I asked her more questions, be like, hey, of those 5 people, how many of them stayed until the end? You know, like 2 people always leave early. Anything else? What else did you hear that was like, or see that was painful?
Yeah, the math. The math was painful.
Especially when you've been drinking. the math is painful. So it's like, okay, who pays what? Wait, how much do I owe? Anything else? What else did you notice as she's talking? Anything else that was extra painful? Yeah. Yeah, did you notice that the medium of payment, like, oh yeah, they only had $7 on their bill, and it's a minimum of $10 on the card, and I don't have any cash. Like, you see this all the time, and you're a group of 5 people, and it's really hard to pay. So imagine this is actually our problem, that you need to solve this moment with friends together that's really painful. And so what we're going to do is Emma's going to talk about the next step. So this leads to, we've identified pain. Let's say it's the moment of payment is painful because of, like you said, the method of payment. We've got a credit card, ticket resto, cash, and somebody forgot their wallet. You know, it's like, so there's a little bit of calculation. But let's say it's the method of payment. Oh, and the phone. Okay, so we've got phones, credit cards, cash, and restaurant vouchers. Great. With this in mind, let's go to the next example, and we'll talk about what you can do next after you've identified pain to come up with some ideas.
Okay, so now you identify the pain, so you see that the payment is the problem. Like, everybody has different way to pay, and you don't know which one to choose, and it's a mess. So here, as an entrepreneur, you just want to find an idea, of course. You want to find an app, an application, like some ideas that will solve the problem. So we have the pain point. Now we need to find a solution. And here, we need to go like as crazy as possible. This is what I'm talking about. Everybody know about it. So this is brainstorming. I used to work at HP, and I remember my manager, like during meeting, he said, okay, you are not allowed to say but. During like a brainstorming session, he said, okay, you are not allowed to say but. We are keeping all ideas. It's not like, oh, it's not gonna fit in the PowerPoint presentation. No. We are keeping all the ideas. So if someone say, okay, I'm gonna take a horse and put money on him and take it to the restaurant, this is an idea. So you just need to tell this person, yeah, this is a nice idea. And I will add on the top of the horse, maybe someone with a credit card, I don't know, whatever idea. So this
We actually did this at the startup I was at. And it was a creative agency. My boss was like, actually, you have to say, to every idea, you have to say, I love it. And you had to add on to the idea, and it was ridiculous. But you get the point. Don't kill the ideas.
So this is what we are going to do, like just brainstorming. Scott, do you have sticky notes? You have Sharpies. We are going to do that. Okay, so anyone, we have like 3 minutes, who have ideas to solve this problem. You must find one. You probably have one. Like print the bill with the name of the customer. Excellent. Who else has an idea? You leave the place as fast as you can. Okay, very entrepreneur. Okay, prepaying some amounts. Nice. Anything else? Pay as you order. Prepay, nice. What else? So you take a picture of the bill and you highlight what did you take. What else? Oh, done with the smartphone. I love it. What else? Okay, bitcoins. Our audience is. Who else has ideas?
So, in like an individual bill?
Individual. Okay, cool. So like you just go to the restaurant and then you can pay the restaurant directly on your application. Wow, this is cool. Like you get in a restaurant with your application and then you just put the amount on the application. I love it. Do you?
Can I share an idea?
Yeah.
Emmanuel had an idea. We did this again ourselves. And what you're watching for here is you're going to look for an idea that has the biggest impact. And Emmanuel's going to explain in a minute how we can prioritize these ideas. But watch for the aha moments. Like if there's one idea where you're like, whoa, like, yeah, and you almost, the pain is almost gone. Like when you hear it, it's like, oh yeah. And she got me today. She was like, what if you could just, you searched on Google for the restaurant. So you searched for the address. What if you could just pay your portion through Google? Like what if it was all done through Google Maps? I don't know what it was about the idea, but I was just so excited. I'm like, yeah,
it's true.
I'll just pay my part through Google Apps. And as we started thinking through it, we've realized there were a lot of reasons why this wouldn't work, but like it was an aha moment. So look for those aha moments as you're going through these ideas.
Okay, so very nice. We have like a bunch of ideas right here. So now we have tons of ideas, very nice ideas. So how are we going to pick them, select them? This is the important thing. So here we want to go back to what Scott said. What is the biggest pain point? So we need to remember when we choose our idea, we need to remember what is the biggest pain point because this is what we want to answer. So our biggest pain point was the payment, right? Method of payment. This was really painful because everybody was paying with different methodologies. So let's see which of those ideas are using like only one method of payment. We have.
Okay, so there was print bill by customer.
Yeah. Okay.
Leave, which was an option. So as we triage, we can start to remove. Not that it was a bad idea; it's just illegal.
Like have rich friends. Like rich friends also. Like we can remove.
Which one? The.
Oh, okay.
Rich friend. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
'Cause that doesn't exist.
Friendship is true, okay. Prepay. Okay, before you get in the restaurant, you pay already. So
okay.
This is nice. Bitcoin is a bit complicated, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take like two of them. The order from the phone. I love this idea. Order from the phone. What do you say?
Okay.
So pick another one, Scott.
Yeah, I pick another one. Okay. I liked the pay as you order. This one, it's similar. I think we could kind of group these ones.
Okay.
Where the order from the phone or pay as you order, because it's kind of like an individual thing. So we could maybe put that there. Individual bill, like you can also group by theme. You'll start to see themes as you do this, and you can see here that there's something about maybe we should just do this individually.
Yeah.
That each person's ordering from the phone or...
Exactly.
Okay. So yeah, I like, you said pick one, but I like these.
Okay. So here, when you are choosing an idea, you see what we've done with Scott. You need to remember two things. The pain point. Are you answering to your pain point? So we were looking to like, okay, the pain point is the payment. So which of those ideas are answering to the payment? And the second one is which one of them have the biggest impact? Like, as Scott said, like the wow, yes, I want it. And we have this story at Intuit, very famous, because everybody is doing rapid testing. They wanted to launch a new product, and they went to client, like customers at boutiques, and they say, okay, I have here on these cities, I have the software that can help you do that, and that. And they say, of course I want it now. So they just give the money to the other person, And in the cities, they had nothing. They just wanted to make sure they want to develop the ideas. So this is what we want here. We want the wow moment, as Scott said. So this is really what we are doing at Iterate. We consider it as our missions to improve our customers' financial life, so profoundly they can go back to the old way. So it's exactly like, for example, Uber. Are you going to take a cab tomorrow? No way. You're just going to order Uber or Le Cab or whatever because it changed your life like so deeply and your habit that you won't ever go back to the old way. It's not possible. So what I want to say here is just choose the idea that has the biggest impact. So we are here. What Scott told us is empathy. So you find the biggest pain point. Then you have all the ideas possible. You brainstorm and you put like all ideas. And trust me, even if you talked about it a lot, brainstorming is really useful. Like earlier with Scott, like we were like, oh, what example are we going to choose for the meeting? And like we did, okay, let's rapid test. And I swear it's true. We did that. We said, okay, tell all the ideas that you have on the sticky notes, and we are just going to put them. And at the end, we just found the payment example. It's true. So all of those ideas, so as we said, empathy, then find the pain point, and choose the one with the biggest impact. But, guess what?
And this is the part. This is what we're going to choose for tonight. This is our example. We're going to use the order from the phone example as our best idea. You can do a few rounds, but this is the funny part. There's my friend came home from, I used to work at Adobe. You know, they do Creative Cloud. So I worked at Adobe, and my friend went to an innovation conference in California, and he came back, and they gave everybody notebooks with a dog on the front pooping a light bulb. And I was like, what? They gave you that at this expensive conference? And he's like, yeah, we all got this notebook that said, it was like, no matter what, your ideas are crap. I was like, that's rude. But then he started to explain it. And I'll now explain to you what I learned from this friend. It's important to assume that you're wrong because this is where rapid testing becomes important. Because you have a great idea. How many times have you sat down at lunch and your friend or to you or back to you, you're sharing with a friend or they're sharing with you, hey, I have this idea. It's an application, and they start telling the story and you're eating your lunch. And like they always say, what do you think? You know this moment, right? And you're always like, that's cool. Like, yeah, do it. And there's always that moment that you think your idea is really good. You could validate it with your friends, and they'll say it's good. But the guy with the notebook and the dog with the idea light bulb as poo, he said, okay, when that happens, ask your friend for money. Right then and there. Okay, will you give me $100 for this idea? And I'm like, ooh, well, why don't you develop it a bit more and then you come back? That's what always happens. Try it. Just ask for money when you talk about your idea and see what happens. Because the point is, you need to assume that you're wrong and that reality is going to help indicate which ideas are good or not. So this leads to the next slide, which is about rapid experiments. So what we've done is you find a problem, you find that pain, and then you try and figure out how to solve it. So you go through this broad to narrow, finding the ideas, and now we come to a great idea, but we're not sure. We think it's good. It's the best one we have. Now it's time to test it. And if you think about ways that people test today, there's some good tricks. Kickstarter. How many of you have launched a product on Kickstarter just to see if you can get money? Anybody tried that on Kickstarter? Okay, we've got one person who's tried it. How did it go? Good? There you go. Kickstarter is a way to put ideas out and validate them because people have to, pay money before this product even exists.
Yeah. This was exactly what I was saying earlier with the CDs. They were selling like an empty CDs just to say, like, okay, we had money out of this, and yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I think it's cool. So the idea here is with the rapid testing, is you want to do this as cheaply and as fast as possible. So Emma, if you want to take this one, Emma's got a few examples to share here about this, but like I mentioned earlier, we're all small, we don't have a ton of money, so the idea is cheap and fast. So keep that in mind, and these are examples of cheap and fast, but there are many ways to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So most of you are startups. You don't have, I guess, money. We don't have money. We don't have time. So we really want to like do it as fast and as cheap as possible. This is the main idea. For example, Dropbox. Okay, the first time they launched the product, they just launched a video with the link and explaining like, oh, you can put like your files in it, and like the link was empty, and they realized like thousands of people were using it. So this is how they tried their ideas. So just a landing page with the video and empty link, they didn't develop anything, and this is how they try it. So landing page. What else do we have? Like I have a friend who wants to launch a bag, a really nice bag company. So he started drawing bags and show them to people, and he showed them to people, and people were like, "Wow, this is awesome! I love those bags. Really, you should go for it." And like everybody was like, "Okay, yes, go for it." So he said, "Okay, I should go for it." Like everybody loved the design of my bags. So he went in Italy and like start like producing bags, 600 or something, and then he launched it to the market, and he realized like no one wants to buy it, no one, because it was too expensive. And when he asked his friend, he should say, "Okay, you like it? Do you want to buy it? Like, can you give me like $600 and I give it to you like in 1 month?" If he just had this question, asked this question, like he wouldn't have like 600 bags now. It's just like try the idea as fast as possible. Even if you're showing a draw to your friends, tell them, okay, and this is what we showed about Kickstarters. Like most of the time, you buy a product that is not even produced. So this is what we want to say, like go cheap and go fast. And you've seen, like, I told you this story about how I arrived at Intuit and I was like in shock. Like this is how $1 million companies building their products. So with paper and sticky notes. So even if you don't have the time, like this is like, what, 10 minutes building like prototypes? Everybody can do it.
So we're going to show a video in just a second, and but first I wanted to give another example, like Emma said, of fast and cheap. So if you skip to the next slide, you'll notice the happy face and the frowny face. We're talking about building stuff with pen and paper and showing it in front of customers. This is an example of something. This is a higher fidelity version of what we showed people. It originally started on just a piece of paper with Sharpie. So this is an actual real prototype that we're going to release in about 3 weeks of a new first-time use experience. And so what we did is we noticed, as we watched customers, that they had a really hard time coming into QuickBooks. So our software, we haven't even talked about QuickBooks, but QuickBooks is for small businesses to manage their invoices, track their money, and be able to file their taxes. So it hides all of the complexity of accounting so that you can quickly send an invoice and get paid and track all of your finances and see reports in QuickBooks to know how your company's doing. So it's really hard to come in for the first time and enter in all your company information. In France, you have to have le SIRET, Capital Social, RCS, and the list goes on and on and on of all the information you need to fill out. We noticed that users, I said, hey, take a look at this and fill out this information. And I just asked this question. My hypothesis was people were going to have a hard time filling out their RCS and SIRET. And so I tested it. I put the sheet of paper in front of people and I said, can you fill this out? So company name, oh yeah, that's easy. Address, yeah, I got it. If we go down the list, RCS, yeah, I've got it. Where is it? It's on my computer. Okay, go get it. Okay, open up the computer, search for it. Yeah, it's usually on my home, like on the desktop. And they look around, and then they finally grab it, and then they enter it in. And 3 to 5 minutes go by. And so as you're watching, you go, oh yeah, that's 5 minutes that this entrepreneur just wasted. We could do this for them. And we did the same thing if you go to the next slide. We did this the same, you have to set up your VAT. So we asked, do you file VAT? Yep, yeah, I'm soumis à la TVA. And then, what's your current tax period, filing frequency? Yeah, okay. What's your reporting method? Are you cash or accrual? Do you guys know if you're, actually, this is good. How many of you know whether you are encaissement or débit?
Stop rapid testing our audience, Scott.
Encaissement? Débit? Don't know?
Way.
Yeah, okay, validated. Thank you. I can add that too. I tested this with 100 customers. And so the point is, I noticed that one person out of 12 people that I tested this with was able to answer this question. And then I said, what's your VAT number? Like, ooh, I don't know. 0 out of 12. And then I was like, do you have an invoice that you sent? And they're like, yeah, it's on the bottom, you know. But 0 out of 12 people knew it. So the point being, we did this internally, and I'll tell you, it doesn't have to be earth-shattering, but we found a way to automatically populate your VAT number based off your SIRET. So we have this algorithm that will calculate it for you, and we're going to implement that in. And then we found another way to automatically, based off of your company name, very easy, pull in your company information for you. So now what we're doing is we're testing this with higher fidelity prototypes. But I want to just give this an example. For me, if you just go back to the video one, you want to look for moments where people go, oh, thank you. Or moments where you're like, yeah, what is your VAT number? I don't know. Well, what are you going to do to find it? And you just sit there. It's like, okay, find your VAT number. Well, I have to call my accountant. Okay? And you're like, wow, that is painful for a customer to call their accountant and say, hey, what's my VAT number? So that I can use this product. Way too much time. So what we want to do is take that pain and reduce it to 0 by automating it. And that's what we're going to do. As we show this, here's another example of how we do this with Paper at Intuit. And as you watch this, I want you to think about this challenge here, ordering from your phone. How would you test this idea as cheaply and quickly as possible? This is going to be your assignment in a second. How would you test this idea with paper as cheap as possible? So we'll show this little video of a team demonstrating rapid prototyping.
All right, team, I'm going to go grab our customer. Let's get ready to show them the prototype. Hey, Brenna, I'm Ben.
Hey, Ben. Good to meet you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. What we're going to do is actually show you a rough prototype of an idea that Intuit is thinking about building. And as you go through this prototype, just maybe talk out loud and click on it as if it was a real application.
Okay.
And to get started, we're going to set a little scene. I want you just to spend a moment getting kind of in the moment of that scene,
Okay.
and then take it from there.
Okay. Sounds
Great.
good.
Let's do it. Okay, great. You're here at your favorite coffee shop, and you've just ordered your favorite drink.
Very nice. Okay.
And just as you pay, you receive an alert on your phone.
Okay.
Beep.
All right, save up. You just spent $3.75 on coffee. Would you like to put the same amount in savings? Yes, save up, no thanks, or question mark. Let's see what that does. When you select the yes, save up option, we move the amount you choose into your savings account. You can access this money anytime you need it, or just let it grow over time. Okay, got it. Great. We'll move $3.75 into your savings account, which you can access anytime you need it. Continue or save up more. Continue. Saving up. And done. We saved $3.75. You now have $427 saved up. Nice. Okay, done or save up more. I think I'm done.
All right, great, and scene. Wow, thanks, Brenna, that was awesome.
Okay.
This is unbelievable, right?
You saw how cheap that was. It's just a piece of paper. Where did you see delight, and where did you see somebody kind of struggle? If you were the testers here, what would you have noticed? Where was their struggle, if any? Yeah. It was like the done or save, and she hesitated, right? So if you asked her after, hey, what was hard? She wouldn't be able to tell you. But because you watched, you go, oh yeah, she hesitated. Was there any other pain or hesitation? Yeah. She's kind of like, okay, I'm done. She wouldn't have gotten it right away, yeah. So like, he explained it, but she might have been a little bit lost. So there's a few moments where you go, okay, so you got to write those down. Take note of hesitation, pain. How about delight? She wasn't like, yeah, but was there any moment where you as an observer would say, hey, that was a delightful experience? She got her, when she got the coffee? That was a nice surprise when I think it was empty though. Yeah, it was that's the one that stuck out to me. Is she goes, oh, nice. And what they were testing was an app that was like every time you pay for coffee, you save the same amount in a savings account, and it helps people save. And so they tested it super cheaply, and they noticed that if they put the total, there's like delight there. So these are the things you want to watch for. Look for kind of levers, something that you could see as delight or something you could fix that's painful. So we're going to do the same thing really quick with your idea.
Yeah, the payment. So what did we choose finally? We chose the idea that we want to order from your phone. So we want to develop an app where you can order and pay directly from your phone. So how would you test it? Like if you were those guys with papers, how would you like draw the app?
Okay, remember, as cheap and fast as possible, how could you validate this, that it's actually a good idea? Remember, because the ideas are... Okay, so turn to your neighbor. We'll give you 2 minutes. Just come up with as many ideas as you can, and we'll just share 5 of them right after. On your marks, get set, go. Okay, let's just see how this goes really quick. We wanted to do like a real session with you guys. Like we said, we do week-long sessions like this. And so this is really a simple, easy version. You're probably noticing like, okay, like I get it. And that's good, because you're going to have to try this on your own. But let's take 5 of what you think were the best, cheap, fast ways to test.
So I think I'll set up an experiment, having 2 normal Facebook accounts, and I'm gonna try to simulate a messenger bot. So we'll have the customer and having his smartphone. I'm gonna be on the other side while having him as a friend, and he's gonna say like, hi, I want to order a coffee. I'm gonna answer him manually and say, okay, this is a coffee, you need to pay this. He's gonna answer me on Messenger like a normal bot, but it's gonna be me.
Like the idea is a chat, right?
I love it. Just fake an interactive UI.
That's nice.
Okay, cool. And it's
wait.
free, except you have to keep that account.
I see someone with paper and a pencil. I love it. So
You ready?
do you have an idea? I'm not sure.
Well, we draw something, but then we scratched it.
Drawing
so
is amazing.
we draw a menu, drink, food, and both options on the phone itself. And then we selected the drink, and then we had mojito, 15 euro, and a little button next to it, and then a rosé, 5 euro, and stuff like that. And we ordered the mojito, and we had a confirmation button. And then we decided to get rid of that because instead of that, we said maybe we should use flash code. We should flash code the menu, and it's going to be much easier. So that's what we did.
I love it. Scott, I think we did a nice job. See
Yeah,
what
that
you've
was.
done.
Actually, can we show this?
Yeah, let's show that.
Okay, not your notebook. Yeah, it's her journal. It's her intimate journal. So this is. I mean, it's funny because you look at this, you're like, that's kind of elementary. But the point is, you could, in 5 minutes, write out some prototypes and then actually just test it with friends. And you can go into more detail on creating the hypothesis. What do you test? What are you looking for? What are your assumptions? But it's as easy as that you could test. And maybe you find out that like nobody wants to do this, and that would be an answer. It'd be the frowny, like the answer, but it's an answer. Okay, three more. Anybody else want to share theirs? Quick and cheap ways to test.
Make the nice paper, sorry, I admit. But what I thought was interesting, at one point we said, what do we do with the waiter? Do we squeeze them out, or is it all going to be between phones and counters and stuff? And so that was an interesting discussion we had in terms of, operationally, when we would do this and test this with customers, what do we do with the waiter? So that was interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Because what you'll do is you go, oh yeah, this is great for customers, but no restaurant would do it. And so you have to then take the next problem and iterate again. The waiters don't come anyways. Just kidding. Being Canadian and coming to Paris, I'm always like, wow, they're taking a long time to bring our water. Great idea. Yeah, another one. Let's do 2 more.
For me, the test is one table with 4 people around the table. They make an order like your draft. And on the other side, you have the server. We give some information, and so if the server is okay for him.
Okay, so that actually in your scenario, you're testing paper on an app, but the server actually plays a role still. Okay, but they don't see each other. Mysterious. Yeah. Okay, good. Any other one? Yeah.
You put several post-it colors on the table. Everyone at the table pick a different color and just write down his own order and give it back to the waiter.
So you get the idea here, like you can do this with Post-its, with Sharpies, with paper. If you have some design skills, you can do better looking prototypes in InDesign or other tools. But the point here is you don't have time and you don't have money to use for all these tests, but you can validate your ideas quickly and cheaply. And that's the whole idea of this rapid experimentation, is to do this fast and to do it often. And
I think it's a perfect transition. I think everybody got from what I've seen, like everybody got the concept. But the most important part is you never stop testing. You see, after our success, even though we are still testing new ideas, always, even like the cheap way, the fast way, but we are doing it. So never stop testing. And I think you understand like the iteration like process. So we had these ideas, as you said, like, and then you realize that's why like the Google app we thought about was not that good, because we said like, the restaurant, they want to have cash, right? And so we said like no restaurant will agree to such an application. So, and then you just realize that you have other issues. So you need to test them. So the idea is just to have a quick recap. You have like all the empathy. You find the pain points. Then you came with several ideas to solve this. And after the idea, you pick the right one. How do you pick it? By choosing the one with the biggest impact. And then, boom, you start drawing, rapid testing, Photoshop, whatever. And you assume your idea are wrong. So you go to customer, and then you test it. You test it, and you have like tons of feedbacks. And then you realize, okay, so I found like the wow moment. Like people were, okay, so wow, it's maybe exaggerating because like people won't be like, wow, but like, that's nice. So this is a wow moment. And then you said, okay, so I will continue on this idea, but sometimes you are like, Scott said, like, I'm gonna call my accountant about my VAT number. No way, I'm gonna call him. Like, it seems like everybody is afraid of his accountant. So, so you just learn things and you decide like to continue the test or to do something else. And you will find new issues all the time. And so you continue to test. So this is the main idea.
Yeah, we've done, just to give you an idea, since we're a startup, we're a big company in California, but we're a startup in France. We have done, over the last 5 months, over 200 tests like this with over 50 small businesses. So we do, we want to give you the challenge to do this, to try it. And if you want to just go to the next slide, as a summary, we're going to send this deck so that you have the recap of Design for Delight, which is the empathy, go broad to go narrow with the rapid experimenting. And there's a lot more detail in there that you can use. But we challenge you to take the D4D challenge. Try it out, test it out, and let us know how it goes. You can give us feedback. And we do, if one of you is really, really, really into this, send us an email and tell us about your experiments and how many you've run. And the person who's done the most experiments will give you 2 hours with our innovation expert in California, where you can do a video conference and chat with them one-on-one to try and talk through your problems and how to do this better. So if anybody is really passionate about this, go for it, try it out. If you want to see how it goes first, you can come and be a tester with us, and we'll give you the link so you can sign up, and we'll give you $150 to come test it out. But the whole point is, give it a shot. Try it out and see how this can take you from 0 customers to 1 million by looking for pain and designing for delight. So with that.
So who has questions?
I was wondering, since QuickBook is already a mature product in the US, what can you improve or like change? Where do you work in France? Is it just the TVA and stuff? Or is it also UX or I don't know?
Yeah.
Ready, go, like.
I'll tell you our roadmap. Just kidding. Are the videos on right now? No. I'm not afraid to tell you a bit about our roadmap because our goal is to do it as fast as possible. But the main pieces are around VAT, making sure that it's easy to use and calculates correctly, obviously, at the same time. So the balance is complexity with ease of use. So we test VAT all the time. We're adding les acomptes, so prepayment. We're adding a new feature. And that, again, is very complex. So you have to be careful that the experience is as delightful as les acomptes are in France. Make it delightful. Another piece that's tricky is the online banking. So with QuickBooks, you can connect your bank account and all of your expenses come in automatically. And so you don't have to do as much manual entry. So it's stuff like that. Like the product already exists, so we're not starting from 0, but it's challenging, important features that most customers use that we're really trying to refine the experience on.
And for example, we identify like the pain point, like for people to get paid. So we built like this partnership with PayPal, and now like it's online for a week or something. It's a beta, even a beta, and like you can send invoice to your customer, and you will find a link at the end, and the customer can just click on the link and get paid. So this is the kind of features we are adding in the States, in France, everywhere. Like everything goes very fast. And
just to give you an illustration, my manager tested PayPal today with the office. He sent out an email to everybody and he said, hey, tell me your bank card, like the type of card, not the number, the type of card and your bank, because he wants to test a bunch of different banks. And I'll send you an invoice for $1.50. And you can come to my desk and I'll give you $1.50 once you're done. And so he had PayPal logo and he said, thank you for testing. And there were coins on the paper. So as soon as you did it, you would go get your money after. It's that easy, and that's what we do. So
How many users do you test at first? And like an ID or whatever? And do you scale the test after that with like a broader audience? Do you roll out your features one by one? Like how do you do this at scale?
That's a really good question because the banking thing is very complex. So I tested it with 3 people, and every result was the opposite of the other one. I was like, oh crap, okay. What I was hoping is that there'd be a big wow with all 3, and I could at least go, okay, but it was totally different. So then the question was, how do we do this at scale? It costs a lot of money if we're paying 150 euros for a 2-hour session. And so the other ideas are to go to a place like this, like an incubator, a startup place where people are eager to try new things. So raise your hand if, no, just kidding. So it's tricky. So at scale, we can do it with bigger groups. The other one is if we can put something online and send it to existing users. That's another way that we've done it, where we do betas or almost like alphas, where it's even dirtier. We have a bunch of accountants who are really eager to try stuff. So we'll say, hey, we're building this. It's really rough, but can you? And we give our question, and we just send it out to 30 people, and then we start to scale that way. And that's cheaper. It's with people who are really interested. So you may have to find a group of people that love what you're doing and just don't overuse them, but that's how we do it. It's hard. It's hard to do it really at scale without paying a lot of money.
And maybe like how many people, like you need to validate a point, like 20 people, something like that?
So here's one idea, one tip. Because we asked Ben, who one of you might win some time with, we asked him how he did it, and his answer was, he called it the poison cookie. So he said if you gave a poisonous cookie to somebody, you could give it to one and they would die right away. You don't need to test it with 30 people to know that it's going to kill them. And the idea was, if there's something that is a wow, or that really is strong with 2 or 3 people, you can have enough confidence to move on to the next thing. So that's one way to cheat without doing with a whole bunch. Look for the poison cookie, where it's like, whew, big impact. Okay, I trust that enough. I'm going to move to the next one. So that might help.
I had one question, which is like, from what you showed, it's mostly like B2C, so like you're focusing on the customers. But when you have, for example, the integration, and you mentioned very briefly the bank, or like how to get the tax number out of the SIRET number, how do you actually manage the rapid testing on those, especially for banks where sometimes documentation is like inexistent?
Yeah, that's I don't have a good answer for that, because we're definitely B2C. You know, I would say what you could do is you could use the principles to get to a certain level where you're confident in what you're proposing, and then have that discussion with your B2B partners. But I don't have much experience with B2B, so I can't really give a good answer. Can you, Emma? Or?
Yeah, maybe what I can add to that is, you're right, like banking is really tricky. So, but what we are focusing on is the functionality, right? So we are not like thinking of how it's gonna be hard to build this and that. It's just like trying to see the big impact, like what we were saying. Like, okay, is this functionality is going to be that good that people won't go back to the old way? And we are not thinking about like technical issues we can have. We're just thinking like functionality. And we most of the time find a way out to, if we have like a really wow, we find a way out to build it, right?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. So good, we'll just take a few more questions, and then, yeah, right there.
When you find a list of ideas that you want to test, how do you know which one you want to focus on, and when do you decide to keep it or kill it, basically? Because like when you do like testings, you gather some learnings, but it's really hard to know if it's worth going forward, like you're iterating on this, or switching to another idea, because it takes time and effort. So how do you know which ideas do you want to focus on, like when you have to decide to keep or kill an idea after a test?
Yeah, my quick answer to that is, if you go back to the conversation with Scott Cook, identifying like the biggest pain and then solving for that, that would be like the first thing, is like make sure that whatever you're doing has the biggest impact, because you could do 1,000 things. Now, if you go to the next level and you've already identified the most painful, and then you have 10 ideas, I think it's always that question of, what is the pain we're trying to solve? Don't fall in love with the ideas. You guys have heard that, like, don't fall in love with ideas, fall in love with problems. And so I think it's constantly remembering that no matter how exciting an idea is, if it looks like it's not going to have the biggest impact, put it aside or kill it and focus on the thing that you really think will give a lift. Because like Scott Cook said, they could have built 200 features to just catch up to all the other products, but they would have been just like all the other products. Instead, they picked one thing, and he said, build it really, really well. So I don't know, maybe that helps a little bit, but just keep that pain in mind.
Yeah, and that's why when we thought about this presentation, we said, okay, we are only going to talk about rapid testing and going very deeply on how to do it. And then we realized, like, we don't have all the way to the rapid testing. You don't know how to take decision. This is the reason why every time you are doing a test, you need to go back to the beginning, like empathy, like the pain point, then the go broad to narrow, like choosing your ID and answer to the pain point. And to choose the ID, you need to find like the biggest pain point, and then you are doing the testing. So it's a loop. Like, you need to first always go back to the first point, like the empathy, because this is like the most important thing.
So after you've validated the concept of whatever you're testing, do you do any other more deep testing, like eye movement stuff? And you know, there's some other guys who do some brain testing and stuff like that?
Yeah, in California where they have more money, yes. In France, where it's a startup, no. We have access to some of those tools. Usually the next step is to build a higher fidelity prototype. So whether it be in PowerPoint or actually in the software. So we'll keep testing it as it looks better and better, because sometimes paper can actually lead you the wrong way. And once you have a clickable real prototype, you get different results. So we just keep testing it with higher fidelity until we're more confident with it. And then definitely in the labs in San Diego and Mountain View, they do all of the heat mapping and eye scans and things like that. So cool. Last one, I guess he beat you to it. Yeah.
Right here. You mentioned doing 200 tests in 5 months, which is obviously impressive. I was wondering if you have dedicated teams for that, or if it's just like any member of the team doing it. This is the coolest part. Is it literally is everybody in the whole office. So what's awesome is they come to me as the product manager. They're like, hey, like, what can I test? And it's somebody who's on the phone every day with customers. So somebody who's like a care agent or somebody in sales is like, hey, can I test this thing for you? Which is, it's really energizing. It's been one of the best things in the office. Like, everybody for these meetings, we do once a week, we meet and we give a highlights of the week. Everybody comes in and high fives, and like, it's just become this like subculture within the office that it's like really cool to prototype. So we've tricked everybody. It's awesome. Anything to add to that?
No, I think we made it a part of the culture of the company.
Yeah, it's I'd say get everybody involved, like because you can't do it if you're the main product guy or you're the owner of your company. You just don't have the time to do it, but you should do it often. But just get everybody involved. So.
And also the nice thing about it, it's kind of giving power to people. Like, I'm in the marketing team, and I came to Scott and I said, okay, I have an idea. And we just can test it, and 2 months after, we have it in the product. So, like, we can really, as employee, have impact, even if we're not like in the product team.
Yeah, it really drives engagement. So, with that, thank you very much for your time, and we hope your rapid testing goes well.
Girl, I'm